All right. Thank you, Sid, for taking the time to talk through the new uh, leader role we've created for new markets and how single engineer groups will work with that new leader. Can you just talk about it a little bit and give a sense of why we did this?
Yeah, at GitLab, we want to be investing for the long term. Uh, want to have a long outlook, like 7 years, and our that is hard to do, and we want to do that in a way that is cost efficient and allows the wider community to contribute. And the way to do it is to have one person make something. Like Dimitri made GitLab by themselves. Camille made a new runner by themselves. Like one person can kind of bite off a new product category, and we'll have those people directly in engineering. Engineering at GitLab is very used to kind of getting contributions from the outside world, and we still have to make sure it's secure and that it doesn't that there's no database performance issues and that all the other things. But we think we can do it that way. So we're going to have someone reporting to Eric Johnson, our EVP of engineering, who's focused on new markets, these long-term bets, and we'll have single engineer groups, we call them, reporting to him or her.
Thanks. And you answered my second question, which is why do you think this is a better structure for success? My third question is what data, information, or business case will be needed to sort of propose a single engineer group in for this?
Yeah,
Activity?
GitLab, everyone can contribute. So everyone can propose. And then at R&D, engineering and product at GitLab, we have a running list of initiatives. So this would be on that list, and there needs to be an ROI case. And me, Eric, Scott, and you and Nope are all involved in making that list. And then if it ends up above the investing cutoff line, we'll invest.
Awesome. It's clear that in the long term, we want 10% of the team focused on this. That means it's already behind target. Like if you look at it today, one way to look at it is it's behind target. How will we trade off additional investments in single engineer group versus incremental investments in existing teams in the near term?
Yeah, if you talk about 10%, we don't want 10% of the groups focused on it. It's going to be more groups because it's going to be single engineers. We don't want 10% of our people to be single engineer groups because these people will be on average more expensive. They'll have experience going from 0 to 1, be old co-founders. Plus, there's some overlay cost in the rest of engineering. The idea is to allocate 10% of our R&D budget to these new markets. And then the trade-off happens at the same form we approve them, like they have to be above the cutoff line for new projects.
Awesome. Thank you. Criteria for success. If a single engineer group is unable to get adoption in a certain time frame, will that be considered a success or a failure?
Yeah, I think in general, we'll have a thesis up front. And then I think we'll keep investing as long as the thesis is not invalidated. We'll keep trying new things. Unless we find out that an assumption we had is wrong, and then we give up on the project. But I think it's, we shouldn't keep trying the same thing if it doesn't work. But in general, if the thesis is right, we should keep going at it.
Thanks. And the other question is today we already have several categories that are not necessarily contributing to the revenue, but considered new markets by us. And they're starting to show promising adoption. For example, monitor with incident management, package is in sort of that sphere, configure and protect. Do you consider these new markets?
No, I consider them not new markets, and they're either usage or revenue. And if they're not creating revenue, it's a usage part of our R&D spend.
Awesome. One of the feedback I got from the broader team members, and this is not just product management, was that we don't have a great contribution architecture to help members contribute without creating a lot of tech debt. So we may get some early adoption and excitement, but then the user experience may be inconsistent. The design patterns may not get followed, or we've created sort of new tech that takes a long time to bring back. For example, ethics versus issues are different, groups versus projects are different. How do you think about that as we create more single engineer groups?
Yeah. So this is going to be a leader at GitLab who's focused on that, the leader of new markets. Plus, these will be people on GitLab's payroll paid full time to work on this. So the leader will set that direction, and the people will have time to use our existing design patterns. And as far as I'm concerned, we can add pajamas to our definition of that. Like, we're not going to merge it if you're not using that.
Okay, awesome. I have a couple of more questions. One is, if a single engineer group is in an existing stage or category, um, then what's happening today is the team has sort of intentionally deprioritized it, given their existing capacity. So how do we contrast that um, versus simply adding one more engineer or one more team member into that group and asking them to explicitly focus on that particular area?
Yeah, we can do that on that priority list. So that, going back to that answer, but it might be that it's hard to have a group of people. We're talking about back-end engineers, front-end engineers, the designer, the PM, to have them focus on two different markets at the same time. So maybe it's better to have one person who can operate independently focusing on it, instead of one back-end engineer who's then half a front-end overlay and half a designer, or not quite. It's really like there's some advantages to having everything happen in one brain. So it might be better to have an SEG than an extra engineer, but it's a trade-off on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. So do you expect, in your definition of new markets, do existing categories also qualify as new markets, or new markets are things that are not already existing categories that are defined in our system?
If we have some usage, it's not a new market.
Okay.
But we have some things on our homepage which have so low usage, I wouldn't really call them usage.
I think that's clear answer. Thank you for giving that. And I know this is a single engineer group, but what are your thoughts on single person groups that can add value to GitLab in other ways?
I'm not against that, but that would be a different proposal. For now, we're looking for engineers.
Okay. All right. Thank you for taking the time and explaining it. I think this will be super helpful for everybody as we embark on this journey. I think looking forward to 7 years is a very important thing for us to do. And oftentimes when teams are in hypergrowth in this stage of the company, they focus on what's in front of them right now, and they lose the
Yeah,
growth.
we asked them to focus on customer results. So we asked them
Like,
doing it